Murder in the Rain would like to give a big hello, welcome, and thank you to our newest Patreon supporters. Jeff W. from Phoenix, Arizona, Ruth from Sutherland, Oregon, Kim S. from Atlanta, Georgia, Nicole F. from Salem, Oregon, Jess H. from Menlo, Iowa, and Paige B. from Clayton, New Jersey. And if you want to hear your beautiful name be said by our even more beautiful voices, feel free to find us on patreon.com and search for Murder in the Rain. And thank you to all of our Patreon supporters for their continued support.
I'm Emily Rowney.
And I'm Alicia Holland.
This is Bill Camp, the voice of Forensic Files 2 on HLN, and you're listening to Murder in the Rain.
We've seen our nation enthralled with missing person cases, from my own fixation with Maura Murray, who disappeared without a trace in 2004, to the recent case of Gabby Petito, who was found dead in Wyoming just days ago and whose fiance is still on the run from police. Something about these cases speaks to us. It's so easy to be gripped by the twists and turns, theories, red flags, rumors, and potential suspects, but only after it's been picked up by the mainstream media. Why do some cases have such sensationalism while others struggle to be aired on the news? Some might say it's ageism, it's attractiveness, it's socioeconomic status, it's being white. And those are probably all true. And that's why some true crime podcasts find fulfillment in what we do. We can cover cases without thousands of people rooting them on social media. Cases where there are struggles to even get the police department to do their job and treat it with severity and urgency. Today is a little bit different than my usual case because we have the opportunity to learn from a family member. I'm going to give you an overview of the case, and then we have the honor of speaking to a person who has to live with the daily pain of not knowing where their loved one is. I urge you all to listen to the entire episode. I think it can be a little uncomfortable to talk to someone who's going through this, especially when there's the uncertainty if they're ever going to know more than they do today. But as true crime fans, I think we owe it to people to sit through that uncomfortableness and show them what real support is. You've heard from family members on our show before, and it can be very powerful and illuminating. This episode focuses on the case of Graciela Garcia, a woman who has been missing since November of 2019. Her case has the typical heart-wrenching nature of not fully understanding what happened to someone, but it has an added level of frustration because it doesn't seem like the police are doing everything they should. Graciela Garcia goes by the name Gracie. She's incredibly well-liked, funny, loving, adorable, and she seems like the type of person you would absolutely want at your karaoke party. She immigrated to the United States from Mexico when she was young, and her family settled into the northeast corner of Oregon in a city called Hermiston. Being a strong and tenacious person, she built up her own business called Correas Beauty Salon, raised 4 amazing children, and made an impact on everyone she met. But in an instant, she disappeared from the lives of everyone around her, and they're all left wondering, what happened to Gracie? On November 8th, 2019, Gracie's 14-year-old son Jacob was staying with his father. Her and her ex have joint custody of her son, so he often traveled between their 2 homes. That night, Gracie had plans to take Jacob some dinner. This was something she did pretty often when he was staying with his dad. However, she never showed up. Instead, her husband arrived on her son's doorstep with the food and told him that his mother had already gone to bed. Jacob had 2 missed calls and a text message from his mom from around 7 p.m. prior to her husband stopping by. Later that night and the next day, when he tried to return her calls, they went directly to voicemail. According to her children, Gracie always has her phone on her and never neglects to return a call or text or check her social media accounts. So her not getting back to Jacob was a red flag. The next day, he told his sister about the missed calls and not being able to get a hold of his mom, and worry started to travel throughout the family. Sibling after sibling attempted to call Gracie, and everyone went straight to voicemail. Her children continued to try to contact her for 2 days. Eventually, Gracie's husband, Cuauhtemoc Romero Sanchez, who goes by Chon, went to her eldest daughter Annabelle's house to tell the family that Gracie had left him in the middle of the night, claiming to have awoken the morning of November 9th to an empty bed. The state of the home added to their growing concerns. Her children had access to her house and noted that when they arrived, Gracie's car was parked at the house. Her purse, her clothing, and her jewelry all remained inside. On November 11th, 2019, her family decided to file a missing person report. An investigation began and police discovered there were a few items missing from the home. Gracie's license, passport, and cell phone were all missing. According to the phone company, a final ping to a cell tower was received near the Umatilla Bridge at the Oregon-Washington border on November 9th at 12:30 a.m. It's assumed her phone was turned off after that. So that would have been a few hours after her husband dropped off the food at the son's house. Police have described Gracie's disappearance as suspicious, and they've questioned her husband regarding the fact that he didn't file a police report and his phone was off the entire day she went missing.
Red flag.
Police claim he has cooperated with them throughout the investigation. He allowed them to search his home, he submitted DNA samples, and he even took multiple polygraph tests. Tests that you'll learn in the interview had interesting results. Graciella's children don't think she would voluntarily leave town without telling anyone. Not only does she have a teen son that she shares custody of, she owns her own in-home salon and is well known for her dedication to her customers. She's rarely out of touch with her children for more than a few hours, talking daily with her youngest son. I sat down with Gabriela Petito, one of Gracie's daughters. My goal was to get some clarity on a few events, learn a little bit more about Gracie, and find out if what I read between the lines in news articles was true. Were the police really doing their job? Was her mother's husband shady as hell? Please listen in as I have a chat with Gabby. Why don't we get started by you just introducing yourself and letting us know how you are related to Gracie?
My name is Gabriela, and I am Graciela Garcia's daughter. I'm the youngest one from my other sister. It's four of us. I'm her youngest daughter. We are from Hermiston, Oregon. It's just a little town out here in Oregon. I'm really bad with knowing the direction, so I think I'm on the eastern side.
You are. I drove by you yesterday, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm from the, I think, northeastern side, and I just turned 27. So when my mom went missing, I had just turned 25. So it is almost 2 years since this case has been opened.
Yeah. So before we jump into that, tell me a little bit about your family. So you said you have 3 siblings, 2 are older and 1 is younger, right? You have a younger brother?
Yeah, it's my sister Annabelle. She's the oldest out of all of us, and then it's me, and then it's Arturo after me, and then it's Jacob.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jacob is the youngest. He's about to turn 16. Arturo he's 23. My sister is I think she's 32. I forget.
After 30, the numbers don't matter.
I know. She's gonna get mad at me. But yeah, and I'm 27. I can hardly believe that, but
I know.
Yeah, it's just 3 of us.
And you guys, your mom and dad are the same for everyone, right?
No, Annabelle has her dad.
Okay.
I have my dad, and then my brothers have their dad. But my mom, the good thing about everything, although some people are they judge that, is that she's a very independent person. Like, she worked really hard to provide for her kids. She didn't let that stop her. Like, she went to school, got her degrees, 2 of them, and then she still had kids, and she continued to move forward. And so she's just a big motivation to all of us. My dad, the one that raised me, is so both of my brothers have the same dad, and their dad raised me. So I don't consider him different. I mean, since I was 2 years old, he's been in my life. Annabelle has had a relationship with her dad since she was young. And we've all actually had a relationship with my stepdad since we were little. Mm-hmm. So she still considers him a stepdad. I just consider him my dad. And then, my brothers, well, that's their dad. So.
Right. So let's go back then to November of 2019. Talk to me about the last time one of you or your siblings saw your mom. When was that?
I honestly cannot even remember the last day I saw her, but I remember talking to her around November 3rd. So a few days before. I talked to her. I'm not sure. My sister, I think, would text with her, and then her kids would call grandma. And my brother, the little one, was the one that talked to her the most because he's little, and he would go he'd be go to my dad's and then come back to mom and like back and forth. I just remember the last conversation we had was about helping a friend of hers like find an apartment or something like that. And one of the things that gets me is that in those days, I also remember that she seemed really weird. Like she wanted to get out, and she told me, hey, she texted me, do you want to like go somewhere? I want to get out of here. I want to kind of get away from, so her husband, they called him Chon. I know you're probably like, what the hell is that?
What does that mean?
Yeah, it doesn't really mean anything, but I guess that was his nickname. And
Okay.
she's like, I want to kind of get away from Chon. Like I'm tired of always being around him. I want to get out. I want to go out. Can you pick me up? And I was like, damn it. Like I'm not able to at the time. I told her, Mom, I'm busy. I can't go today. She's like, I kind of want to go to the casino, like just kind of have some fun. And that's weird. I was like, my mom's acting weird. Like this
She
is
doesn't
not
usually do that.
No. Usually she'd just be like, oh, well, what are you doing? She'd call us and, oh, come eat, or do you want to go to the store or something? But when she said, I want to get out, maybe she wanted to talk to me. I have no idea, but I just regret that so badly because I didn't have the time to do it. And now it's like, I stay with what happened, like what would have happened if I would have gone out with her and she would have told me that I could have saved her. But then again, it's like, I didn't know this would happen. So it's not my fault and I don't blame myself for it.
Yeah, of course.
My brother, the time that he was supposed to get food from her, that was like the day of or the day before.
So I think I read it was November 8th.
Yeah.
They had plans. And then the last time her cell phone seemed to be on was that night.
Yeah. Her cell phone pinged at around 12 a.m. on November 9th. It was the last time it pinged, and they found it crossing the bridge going towards Washington, because like from, let's say, Hermiston, you drive through Umatilla, which is where the McNary Dam is. You go up through the freeway and then you cross over to Washington, like if you're going to Kennewick. And that's where they said that they pinged the phone, but we don't even know if to believe it anymore. But then I know my sister had contact with her the day before for sure, because her kids were with my mom that night.
Literally so the 7th, the night before. Okay.
They went with her to Tri-Cities. They were eating. They were with her, and she took, I think one of them was too young to go out with her, but the other two were older and they did go with her. And I know that they're the last ones that saw her too, the kids. So yeah.
Okay. So then the night of the 8th, when your brother was expecting her to come by, talk me through that. So what I read was that her husband showed up instead. Is that true? That he came over with food? And was your brother concerned by that? Was that weird to him?
Knowing my brother, he doesn't pay attention to every little detail. Normally, like for me, I would have thought, oh, well, there's something off. But him, he's like, oh, well, where's my mom? And he said, oh, she's sleeping. She couldn't come. So he's like, oh, okay, that's fine. What caught him off a little bit was when he had 2 missed calls. And that was before she was going to take the food. And he didn't think anything of it until I saw his phone and he showed me, and I was like, what the heck? Like, there's 2 missed calls. I was like, you should have said something to one of us. Maybe something happened. Like, I feel like my brother thinks that in the middle of him bringing food, something else was going on that nobody knew of. Like we feel, because she's our mom, we know she was probably in danger and she needed help, and we just were not there and we didn't know. But yeah, it was really weird to him that he brought him the food, because it was always her that did it. Or if it was just one or the other, or both of them together, they would come together. Like he'd be in the car, she'd just drop it off and they would leave. But in this case, it was just him. So it wasn't a normal thing for my brother he just didn't think it was right. Like something was wrong.
So when your brother tried to return her call, is that when he brought that to you guys to be like, oh, Mom, this is weird, like she didn't answer? Like, when did you think something was up?
My brother, he had told me this like a day after.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was on November 9th I found this out. And then
Okay.
we didn't know anything until the I think it was the 10th, when my sister came to me and told me that something was going on. And that's when we finally were like, okay, we got to report this.
Right.
But my brother didn't really think anything of it. He's just like, oh, she probably just couldn't answer. Usually she would always call us back, though. That was a
Yeah.
thing. She would always return the call, send a message, and he was kind of worried at that point, like, or the calls are going to voicemail. She's not answering, like, what's going on. And then that's when we were starting to be concerned, and we were starting to ask each other, like, what's going on with her. She never turns off her phone. She never just ignores our
Right. And
calls.
she's on social media and stuff. I imagine she's checking that
Yeah.
pretty often, right? So when you mentioned your sister figured something was wrong, was that when did she go to the house?
So 2 days later, he went to her house, and then he started to, like, just, it was weird to Annabelle. She's like, this guy never comes here without my mom. Like, what the heck's going on? So he went over, and I wasn't there, and he told her, your mom's been acting weird. I don't know what's going on with her. Like, she hasn't been home. I don't know if you guys have talked to her. I remember going to sleep, and the next morning she was gone, and I don't know what happened. She doesn't answer my calls. I guess he started crying and saying, she's been acting really weird lately, and I just don't know what's going on with her. I don't know if she's not happy. I don't know if she's going through something. I just see it as kind of trying to what do you call that when you're trying to, like, hide your guilt? Like, he knows he's guilty, but he's trying to hide it. And I think that's what she thought. Like, it was really weird. So it was either that day or the day after she came to my house. I live like down the street, and she's like, hey, she called, hey, are you home? I want to talk to you. Something's going on with mom. And I'm like, yeah, I'm home. So she came over, and she was acting really weird. Usually my sister, like, we have this certain sisterly way to talk, and she wasn't being that way. And she's like, Sean came over, and he started telling me and bawling out that she's been acting weird. She's been acting different, and that she hasn't been home, that her phone is off, if she doesn't return his phone calls. I was like, she doesn't ever do that. And she's like, yeah, exactly. Like, she wouldn't just turn off her phone for days. And I think my sister started, like, crying, and she's like, I'm just really worried. Like, I have a bad feeling, like, this isn't mom. And I'm like, yeah, it's not. So I grabbed my phone right away, and I called, and it went straight to voicemail. I called like 3-4 times, and I just couldn't believe that, that was true. And I started to feel so bad. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't even want to think about what could have happened. So we kind of just talked about, about her that day. And then after that, she was at our aunt's house on, I believe, the 11th is when it got reported. So that was 3 days later. And so my aunt was there, and then my aunt's daughter was there, which is our cousin. And she saw a police officer pass by, and she told my sister, hey, there's a police right there. I think it's for a reason. Like, we need to report your mom missing now. Like, we need to do something. So we had to report her. They reported her missing because he never did it. He just came to us to tell us what was going on, but we reported her. And so ever since then, there was an open case since November 11th, 2019. And they started the investigation after that.
So did your sister give you the impression that Chon, is that how you say it, Chon, that he was genuine? Did he seem like he was genuinely worried and crying, or that he was just pretending?
We thought he was pretending because we know him. He doesn't cry. He's a mean person. Like, he's always, but very vulgar. He doesn't, he's not respectful. Like, he always has a bad word to say between a sentence. So for us, it's like, well, we know him, and we know that something is a little bit off with the topic.
Right.
And to say that he always changed the story. So it just didn't make sense. And I knew that, he was lying. And even my aunt told him, and this is where my aunt went off on him, and he never came back. She told him, hey, well, I need you to tell me in Spanish conversation. Like, I need you to tell us where the hell my sister's at. She's like, you're full of shit. Sorry. Maybe I shouldn't.
No, you can say that.
She's like, you're full of shit. I know my sister wouldn't just leave. I know that you know where she's at. So you better start talking, because it's not going to end well. And he started, this guy eats like no other. So usually like 2-3 plates. And that day he didn't even finish the plate that my aunt had served him, because he went over to her house and he didn't even finish the plate. And my aunt's like, well, I don't believe him. And she told
Right.
him, I don't believe you. You're lying. I know Chela, my sister. I know her, and she wouldn't just leave like that. And so I told her right away, I'm like, Tia, he didn't eat his food. That's already a red flag for me, because he probably felt so guilty that he couldn't
Mhm.
let any food go down his stomach. Like, I mean, I could imagine that that's what anybody would feel like. You have no appetite.
Right.
The crying started again with him, and my aunt wasn't buying it. That's when she went off on him. And so
What was his excuse for not filing the missing person report himself?
he said that he thought she just left, needed to be away for a few days. He had admitted that they were having problems and
Mhm.
that they were fighting a lot. And he just thought, oh well, maybe she left, or she left to somebody else. He's like, she was talking to another guy, so I think that maybe she left with him. We were like, well, I mean, why didn't you say anything sooner? Like, the minute you noticed that she was gone the next morning, how come, like, why didn't you say anything in that moment or call one of us instead of
Mhm.
waiting and then coming forward to say that your mom is not home? She left and all of her belongings are here. I know for sure that he didn't intend in reporting her. And once we reported her is when he started becoming distant. Like, he didn't like that we did that. It's like, dude, this is our mom. We're not going to just, my sister, literally my stomach started hurting because it's true. She's like, imagine if we would have never like reported her, like how many days would have gone by, and we would have just let the case go.
Right.
Something, worse could have came up. And I'm like, yeah, well, either way, I mean, she still hasn't came up. There's just so many theories, like his stories don't match up. And we all know that he's like hiding something, but I mean, he lived with her, and my brother wasn't there that night. And it's weird because the night that he was going to get the food, he went with my dad. He went with our dad instead of being with her. So it's just weird. Like, I think if he would have been there, would something have happened to my brother too? Or would nothing have ever happened? Like, it
Mhm.
just so many questions, and we just never know what the answer could really be. Only she knows what happened, and him too.
And
So
yeah. Well, that's my question for you. So it seems like the conversations I've seen online, and I posted a TikTok video about your mom, and you've seen it, and there was someone who posted saying he did it, and he
mhm.
had something to do with it, and you even commented like, "How do you know that?" There is a
Yeah.
lot of chatter online that people say that, so it's clear that it isn't just you guys that question his story. Do you have more information on the types of stories he has told police?
Yeah, he told the police that she left and he didn't know where she went. That he was asleep and that he didn't feel her move. And then he says, "Well, I have nothing to do with it. I don't know anything like about what could have happened. I just didn't feel her." A lot of the times that the detectives didn't tell us everything because it's kind of like something that they have to work on privately, and they can't
Right.
it could interfere. But he would just say like, oh well, we were fine, and then, oh no, we weren't. I know, I don't know exactly like everything he would say, but I just know that he changed up his story so much. Like, just making himself look like a victim, like he never had issues. And the reason why we know, a lot of her clients came forward and they messaged us privately on Facebook, and some of them said, well, I don't want my identity to be out there. Like, I don't want nobody to know anything that I'm saying. Please keep it private. But my husband was the last person, my husband was the last client that she saw, and he noticed something off about her.
Oh.
um and then another friend, well, I talked to her a few days before, and she was telling me, crying, that she was upset, she didn't know what else to do, that she was frustrated, that there was too many problems with him. So all of it, like the stories that he would say, that he didn't have anything to do with it, and then all the clients coming forward, it just didn't match up. And
Mhm.
so he did take, according to the detectives, he took three the lie detector tests,
Mhm.
and they were all inconclusive. So I
Sure.
just feel like, if it's inconclusive, it's for a reason. Like, it's either, yes or a no. But if it's in the middle, it's because something's off. And so he never really like talked to us anymore. So I know that he talked to the detectives as much as he wanted to because he didn't even want to see enough. So what I do know, and I could say, is that the detectives did tell us, well, we've had so many different stories from him. We can't really say much, but there's a lot of stories he's made that don't make sense. Like he goes from this to this, and then it's like back to this square one, and it just doesn't add up. And they just told us, well, we just know that when cases come up like this and that they keep changing the story, and it doesn't add up, it's because something's off. That's when we started to know, well, yeah, something is off. Like if the detective thinks that, it's because it's true, and we know her. So, I mean, it's a lot, like a lot of things.
So how do you feel about this investigation? Do you feel like they're doing everything they can?
I don't know exactly what goes on behind closed doors, like where if they're working on it or not, but based on the actions or the action that they, proven, I don't think that a lot has been done because they haven't called us. Like barely, like maybe a month ago, I got a call from a detective, and that was after like a whole year. And I feel like if they were doing something, they would be updating us. They would be kind of like not constantly, but here and there. Hey, we just wanted to let you know we don't have any updates, or the update is that, there is some information that came up, but we can't really disclose that yet. Nothing. Like they leave us literally at nothing. And so even after the march and the vigil, like they didn't like that. Obviously, they don't want to be seen as bad people, but the whole community has came together and they've all agreed that the detective on the case is nothing but like, what do you call it, a crook detective. I mean, honestly, like I've read a lot about yeah, and like he doesn't do his job right. I know that they went on their page after they got called out by the community, trying to say that the GoFundMe is not money that we're taking. And everybody's like, of course, we don't want you guys to take it. We want the family to have that money so that they could go and investigate what you guys aren't doing. And so they didn't like to be called out. And that's, we weren't the only ones calling them out, which we have a right to. But the community, when they come together, it's because everybody's mad that nothing's being done. Nobody's updating. It's gone as far as people actually posting on the local like pages on Facebook saying, hey, has anybody heard about Graciela Garcia's case? What's going on? I did argue with somebody on that post one time because she started saying that she's like, well, you guys don't know what the detectives are doing. You guys shouldn't judge them. And I said, excuse me, but if this was your mom missing and you didn't hear from the detectives for a whole year, you would be mad and you'd be concerned, and you'd be also saying that they're not doing their job. I mean, I understand that there's certain things they can't say, but at least let us know something. And I mean, it just sucks that they don't, I don't feel like a lot is being done, but maybe somebody is doing something and we just won't know yet. But yeah, I had a detective come forward recently, like I mentioned, and he did have some information. We provided a laptop of my mom's like a year ago. It was shortly after she went missing. And he told me that they're going to look into the computers. So right now they're in the process of like looking into it and seeing if they find anything. There's a lot of things that I've noticed that, I mean, besides the detectives, like with him, like her husband, it's just, or like my mom's Facebook, a lot of things have been a little bit just weird. And I don't know.
Has there ever been a proof that she was talking to another man, like your stepfather says?
Well, what happened was that this guy, I think he told us the name of the person, and we did actually talk to him. He came to my sister's house. It was me, my sister, him, and my mom's other sister and her daughter. We were all there asking him questions like, what happened? Like, were you going to see her? And he just started, he looked so scared. He looked so suspicious to me. Like he didn't look right. Like, but we did talk to him, and he started crying and saying like, oh my God, like I feel so bad. I don't know how this could happen to her. And we did have a relationship going on. She was telling me she wasn't happy and she wanted to move on from him. And I just I don't know what happened. He's like, I just want to come clear and say I don't know anything. And he just looked weird. So I was like, I don't know. We kind of noticed him off, and then we saw him at Walmart a few times, and then my cousin saw him too, and she said he looked at her all frightened every single time.
It's hard to
People
say
kind of
because,
just,
yeah, it is
yeah,
an awkward situation. Even if he didn't have anything to do with it,
yeah,
it is hard. You don't know how to react to people in that kind of scenario. But that
yeah,
is argument toward, a lover's quarrel, because that does happen more often than not. That is
yeah.
the case, and that would be reason.
They say variety is the spice of life. They also say that Drizzly is like having the world's largest liquor store in the palm of your hand. So why not spice up your life with Drizzly?
I don't know who they is, but they are certainly right. Drizzly is making everything easier by delivering a variety of alcohol right to your door in under 60 minutes.
Their app connects you directly to their local liquor stores and lets you compare prices for the best deals and the widest selection of beer, wine, and liquor.
Now I don't have to stop at multiple stores for weekly ladies' night. I can just grab my phone and order my fave Cab Sauv on the app.
And I don't have to miss out on the fun when I have to run out to get booze at our get-togethers. It's not fair that the only sober person has to cater to you, yahoos.
Avoid the lines and don't skimp on variety. Try Drizzly.
So check out Drizzly now by downloading the Drizzly app or going to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. And use promo code SPICE5 for $5 off your first order.
That's drizzly.com and use code SPICE5 for $5 off.
Drizzly!
So, in terms of the investigation, in the news articles, police always referenced that her disappearance was suspicious. Do you feel like they did think that right away, that they were treating it like an abduction or something? Is that the way the investigation was going?
I think that they started treating it as a homicide. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah, the detective did come and say, I just have to be honest. We feel like a crime was a crime was done.
Right.
When he said that, I was just kind of like in shock and thinking, no, like I don't want it to be a crime. But I mean, at the end, it's like we can't really say that. We can't really say too much because we don't know anything either. And me and my sister were like, well, why? What makes you think it's a crime? He's like, based on the information we have about her relationship with the husband and how toxic it was, it just seems like there was a murder or something. Also there was a shirt that he had, and it had like what they said was looked like a blood stain. And so they wanted to investigate the shirt to see if that had to like any blood of my mom, or if it was anything related to her. And so we obviously were scared. We're like, wow, like a homicide, like that's a crime, that's scary. And that's kind of the way that they ruled it in the beginning. Till now they still think the same way. I mean, there's not a lot of evidence about it, but I don't know what makes them exactly think that it could be related to that. I don't know if it's because they hear our story and then they hear his story.
Or maybe they have information they're not sharing.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something they would share with you, though. What do you think? How are you feeling about it? Because I know towards the beginning of everything, there were questions on whether she was kidnapped and may still be alive. How are you feeling today about it?
I could say and speak from the past when she recently had left. I thought that maybe she's hiding, and then I thought, oh, maybe she got kidnapped. Maybe she was forced unwillingly and taken. Right now, I did think at times like she was alive, and now I mean, as her daughter, I feel I don't think that she's alive anymore. And it's hard to say that, but I know I say it because of her relationship and where he comes from and, who he's related to. And um, a few months before this happened to her, I started to get a gut feeling that this was going to happen to her. I started to have a bad feeling thinking my mom, like, I feel like she could get kidnapped, she could get murdered, and it could have something to do with related to him or where he comes from. And it just was scaring me so much.
Right.
And I think she knew something was going to happen to her because she started talking to me about her 401k and where to find it if
Oh my
something happened.
God. Really?
Yeah. So I started crying and I was like, Mom, I don't want to hear this. Like, why I was like, can you just stop and tell me why you're talking about something like this? And she's like, I don't want you to worry. She's like, but I just want you guys to be prepared. If something happens to me, like, I need you guys to find this because I don't want him to keep my property, to keep my belongings, my money, my assets, nothing. Like, I nothing to do. And so I was starting to get scared. And after that, I was like, wow, like something is going to happen. And I started to cry and I just hugged her and I'm like, Mom, no, like nothing's going to happen to you. You're going to be okay. And she just started, she had a folder and it had her information in there. And I was like, damn it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think she started to like feel that something was coming. And it just started to get scary after that. I feel like maybe, she's not here anymore. I feel that way. We try to keep ourselves positive and hopeful, but at the end it's like, well, we don't know anything. There's no information. There's no evidence. According to the detectives, they had evidence and they literally let it get destroyed if that's what happened. But
What? Please elaborate. What do you mean?
there was a blanket in her washer days after when we had found out she went missing. I went into her house because I have a key. And I was like, the blanket in here is not supposed to be in here. It had been soaking for a few days. And the reason I know that is because when I brought this up to the detectives, they asked him about it. And he said, oh, that blanket's been there for like 3 days. It's just soaking. And I'm like, you're going to say that? Like, and the reason why I know is because I know my mom. The washer, she would never put big heavy blankets in it because it's gonna break it. That's what she would say. If I ever put a load, like an extreme load of clothes, she would yell at me. And so I knew, I'm like, this is not like this is off. Like the fact that there's a blanket in here and he says it's like 3 days old. How do you guys not go and take that blanket and look at it and
So
get
they didn't even take it when it was located?
No, they left it there. And that's why we got mad, because we noticed that they're not doing anything. And they said, well, there's no evidence. I'm like, you want to interview us and ask us what we think so that it could help you know more about her case. Well, I'm telling you, I know my mom and she would never leave a blanket there. Like she just wouldn't do that. And that's not enough for you to take the blanket. We were so mad because they didn't even take it. They didn't take her rings. They didn't there was a lot of things that were in there that we just like. Her clothes and everything was still the same. Her rings were all like in the same spot. And they do know that I took her ring that she had forever since my grandma was alive, which was 23 years ago that she had passed away. And he noticed that it was gone. And that's when I'm like, okay, like either he put the rings there to set somebody up, and if somebody took something, for him to call it out and be like, well, that's gone. He's like keeping his eye out, because we would go into the house because my brother, he's little and he had things to get.
Right.
Also on her salon was in her house. In one of the rooms, she built it into a salon. Her her appointment book, there was a red dot on there too. Like a red stain, and it literally looked like blood. What? Until this day, my mom's little sister, she's like, we need to check that book to see if it's blood, because she's like, something's telling me it's blood. And I'm like, yeah, we told them, but again, they don't take us. And it's been so many years, like not so many years, but it's been so many months already. And now they want to go and check the computer. Now they want to call us and say they're looking. Like, what the heck is going on with the system? I don't know. It's sad. Like that blanket could have been a piece of evidence. And
yeah, absolutely. And do you have the appointment book? Do you guys still have that in your possession?
It's at her salon, but I have a picture of the stain. Like I have a picture of the actual stain that we saw in there.
Unfortunately, it feels like this happens to so many families where you're literally fighting for your case to be dealt with, to actually have them doing their job.
Yeah.
That's really frustrating. I feel like they should test that paper for blood. Like, why did they not do that? So has your family reached out to the FBI to get their input?
We reached out to the FBI and the FBI didn't do anything. We reached out to the sex trafficking line. The girl decided to tell me that there's nothing of information that I've given her, enough of it to prove that she could have been sex trafficked. We called the Oregon, the state, is it the state officers, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But none of them have stepped forward. We've contacted, is it private investigators, and they just say, oh, well, we're not going to be able to do much for you. Like, it's just a circle that it's ongoing, like back and forth this, and it's never like, oh, well, maybe now we get to go that way or this way. Like, it's just always the same thing. And it's like, how do people not go crazy, you know? It's sad. Like they haven't done anything for us.
I apologize. What is your stepdad's name? Is it Cuadamoc? Is that how you say it?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I never considered him my stepdad.
Well,
he's really
her husband, excuse me.
nothing to us. But his name is Cuauhtemoc. I don't know where that name originates from, but it's a rare name. But Cuauhtemoc. And then it's Romero Sanchez is what his name is. Yeah.
Okay. Is he, I mean, outside of this situation with your mom, would you consider him dangerous? Is he a scary guy?
I do think he is dangerous. There's no reason for me to think that he's a safe person to be around.
Right.
Very sketchy. He also, was being really weird with my brother. When my brother would leave school, this was shortly after she had disappeared. Three different occasions. One time he saw my brother walking from school and he stopped him and he's like, oh, well, do you want to ride? My brother said no. Next time he's like, oh, well, you give me your number. My brother said no. And then third time he's like, oh, well, I can give you some money if you need anything. And of course, a child, they're going to be like, ooh, money, like he's a nice person. He's giving me money. Why is he mean? And I did talk to my brother and said, that's a way for people to trick you into thinking that they're a good person and they want to like trap you in their, whatever their intentions are, they want to trap you. And so I'm glad my brother was open, like minded, and he thought, no, this isn't right. And so when I told my dad, he's like, that's scary. Like he probably wouldn't have had good intentions. It's just a lot of things. And I know I don't think that he's safe at all, honestly, but I don't know. That's why I just wanted to always be away, because I didn't feel safe around him.
And you're all living in the same town? Like he's still there as well? Oh, no, you're not. Okay.
No, my dad is still in Hermiston. My sister is still in the same location. And I moved towns because I wanted to get away.
I was going to say, that's probably good. I'm glad that you're not near him.
From what we know, he's living somewhere else. He comes to her house back and forth, but he's not like full-time living there anymore because he knows that he's being watched and followed. To see if there's any behavior that's off. Mm-hmm. So he's not like actually living there. He goes back and forth though.
So does she own that house, your mom?
Yeah, it was her house that she owned.
So who's watching him and tracking him? Is that the police? You think they're still investigating him?
I think that they might still go around the house and, watch to see if he shows up or anything like that. But we haven't even heard anything from the detectives saying, where they state that they're still, roaming around the area to see if there's anything off. It's been so long. I don't even remember the last time.
Yeah. So you mentioned that even private investigators said that they would probably have a hard time with this. If you get your GoFundMe filled, do you think you will be able to find one that's willing to work on it and try to make progress?
Yeah, we would definitely go into finding a lawyer. Mm-hmm. And if we can also find a detective, like a private investigator, because they're expensive.
Yeah.
It's just so hard for us to go and, pay that, because it's not $200. It's thousands of dollars. And like and then at the end, we don't even know if they're going to do anything for us. So like we
Yeah.
would like to find a really good, like, what is it? A lawyer, kind of
Mhm.
like the girl that got murdered from the army. I think her name was Vanessa. I forgot her last name. We were thinking of, maybe finding somebody with that, potential, like, to,
I think
solve a
that could
case.
help you. I think that could help you with the police and possibly the FBI and getting more attention and actually testing evidence. So
Yeah.
we'll definitely be making a donation, and hopefully our listeners do too. And I think, because I think that's really important. And I know a lot of us in true crime, we love listening to cases, and especially when they're solved and we don't know the people. It's a lot harder to sit and listen to someone whose mother has disappeared and nobody's doing anything about it. So I hope that they're connecting and empathizing with you, because I certainly do. Like the minute you messaged me or you posted a comment on my TikTok about your mom, and I looked at it and I'm like, oh my God, like red flag central. Of course I'm covering this. Like,
Yeah.
what if that was my mom? I would hope that the police are doing their job. So I absolutely will do everything I can to keep her name out there. And I appreciate you talking to me about this. I know this is hard. This is your life every day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's hard for all of us. It's really hard to honestly cope with it. It's a nightmare. Like, I still wake up every day and I'm like, how is this real? Like, how did this happen to my mom? You see this on TV, you see this on the internet, everywhere,
yeah.
and people scroll and they're like, oh, that's another one of those. I personally felt it every time I saw that. And then to think, damn, it happened to me. It happened to my sister, my brothers, our family. It's crazy. You just never know when it's going to happen to your loved one, and when it does, you feel so bad, like your hands are tied, like you can't do nothing. And
Yeah.
the people that are supposed to back us up, and the law, the justice system, they're not doing anything. Who are we supposed to rely on to help us? And then when people go and do and take matters into their own hands, what do? They get prosecuted for it.
Yeah,
Oh, for that they do
exactly.
prosecute them, but they don't prosecute the person that needs to be further investigated, that has a lot of evidence on him, or there was a lot of red flags. That they don't do nothing about the case. It's like, what are you doing? You're not even doing your job. Like,
Yeah.
I can't believe it. It's embarrassing to think that they are just not doing anything. And she was a person, like, she had a business, she had so many clients.
Right.
They have, like, I feel like they don't care about that. They don't care about her life. They don't care about her case. It's sad. I think that there should be more coverage on this case. There should be a lot more, information. I think she got reported nationwide as a missing person, or flagged, but if they're not, nobody's doing anything. It's like, what's the whole, it's sad.
It is.
Like, what
It's
do we
like,
do?
especially when you're an adult, it's almost like you're in the media for just a few moments and then life moves on, and there's
Yeah.
a child case or a more sensationalized case. And, that's what I'm happy I have a platform that I can highlight cases like this, where it's like, hey guys, don't forget about this whole family who's missing this cornerstone, this person that means everything. Whatever we can do for you, if you, send us photos, we'll post them, anniversary special. Like we want to keep her name out there. And I hope that you get answers and that the police do their job. But I think the GoFundMe is where we're going to make the biggest progress. Let's get you guys funded so you can hire a lawyer. That is huge.
I really pray that one day, we can reach some sort of a goal. And like, our goal is obviously to find her more than anything, like, but the only way we could do that is the support we need is the law. And if we just need to find somebody who's going to help us. And it's hard to do it on our own. Like, we're not rich people. We're not people who, we've even struggled to work during this time. Like, the pandemic's already hell.
Mm-hmm.
And then going through this, it's even worse. It's like, it's hard to move forward. It's real, like, you have to be strong, and nobody's gonna pay our bills. Nobody's gonna pay for a lawyer. I mean, that's why it's just like, that's why we're thankful for all the people who came together last year. Honestly, like, I want to cry thinking about the vigil, because my mom had depression and she thought people didn't care about her. She thought she wasn't loved. And even if it was like for that day that people showed up, and maybe now they don't share, they don't talk about her case, they made the effort to get up that day and go and support us. And it was so many people. It was crazy. I look at the pictures and I start to cry, because I'm like, wow, all of these people, and she thought she wasn't loved. Like, if they're there, it's because they care. They want to support us and her. Right. And she's very well known in the community. She's loved and appreciated, and she made an impact in other people's lives. She was a great mom. She always helped out when people needed help. She was a great hairstylist. Like,
yeah, she always looked fly too. Her hair, every color I've seen looked fantastic.
I think that if she ever came back, everybody would go back to her, and all her clients, and even more people would be intrigued in going back, like, getting her as a, like, it's hard to think that could happen, but you never know. Like, this world is just, it goes in so many directions. And I just hope that if she's still here, that she gets, directed back to where she needs to be, and it's with her family. But I just don't know anymore what can really happen at this point. It's been so long already. I can't believe I haven't seen my mom in almost 2 years.
Yeah. So is there anything that you want people to know that I didn't ask you, or that you haven't said yet, that you want them to know about your mom or this case, or about your family, anything?
My family and I are very thankful for everybody's support, everybody who's donated, everybody who was at her vigil in March, or who's reached out to us, who's given us, examples of resources where we can reach out to. As far as right now, there's not any really new information we can give to the public. We just every day wake up thinking, damn, she's still gone. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. We just, ask whoever is out there that believes in prayer to please pray for our family, to pray for her and her soul, like, if she's not here anymore, so that she can be given an opportunity. Like, I am a strong believer that if you pray over somebody or family, it's very powerful. Mm-hmm. We really do take serious the fact of our donations for the GoFundMe. Like, we really want to find somebody to help us. We really want to get some sort of answers. We at least want to try to protect her properties and her assets and everything, and we're stressed out about that too, because we don't want anybody else to keep that. My little brother, if anybody out there is wondering like how he's doing, he's almost 16. He's a really sweet little boy, and he's just growing up to be amazing. He gets good grades. He gets himself up, and he plays sports, and he's trying to distract himself. So Jacob's doing good, and my sister and her kids, obviously they're suffering. The little kids are suffering. I'm struggling with it as well. I don't really show it, but I just feel that we're really thankful for all the support we get, and all the genuine people out there. If anybody could, help us, if anybody has any sort of resource that could really get us some sort of answers, or could make a difference for our family, please reach out to us. We have a website for her GoFundMe, and then we also have a TikTok, and we have an Instagram page for her, and a Facebook page, and
we can post all of that on our episode guide, so people have access to that.
Yeah, we that's where a lot of the updates go onto her page, and if there's any new information, well, it's going to be uploaded onto her pages. We also have a Twitter for her, like all social media platforms. Like, we literally have a page for her, and so I just want her case to go more viral. Like,
mm-hmm.
All the people that are missing, all the TikToks we see of people who duet this case a million times. It's like, I just pray that can be my mom's case, that goes more viral than it already has. And
yep.
I mean, I don't know what else to say besides like, thank you for all the support, and for all of you guys that reach out, including yourself, for wanting to talk to me and to know about, the case and get her information more out there. My sister couldn't make it to the interview. She really wanted to be part of it. And my mom's sister also couldn't make it. But I mean, I guess I'm speaking a little bit for them because they weren't. If anybody else like wants to interview us, wants, to know about the case more or whatever it is, like they're welcome to reach out and interview us. We don't mind spreading the word. It doesn't matter how long it takes until we can find some sort of, evidence.
Absolutely. So we'll share all of your guys' social media so that people can check it out and follow the case and offer their support in any way they can. But Gabby, thank you so much for joining me today. We'll spread the word and get some photos on our blog so everyone can see what your mom looks like and share it out with other people. So I appreciate it very much.
And would you say in a week or so you're going to be posting it? I'm really looking forward to seeing how many people actually reach out or are interested in the case. I'm hoping that somebody reaches out and says, hey, I'm interested in this case and I want to kind of jump in and help. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing. You never know.
We have a lot of listeners who work in, they work in law or they work in the courts. Somebody might have a great resource to help or be able to offer their own time even to help you. So that's what my hope is, that somebody can help.
I really hope somebody comes forward and says, hey, I want to help you. Please let me help you guys investigate the case more. Anything like that just helps. So I'm looking forward to, everybody hearing the story. Thank you so much for your time. I also appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, Gabby. Let me keep in touch and I will reach out soon.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. I'll talk to you later. Thanks. I think you can see why I wanted to highlight this case. It's absolutely heartbreaking to watch a family suffer and not have the means to try to solve the case. I had never even heard of this case until Gabby commented on one of my TikTok videos requesting coverage. Once I looked at the case, I knew I wanted to share her story. And after speaking with Gabby, I was pretty taken aback at how not only the family, but the public feels police are handling this case. Online, people feel similarly to what Gabby expressed, that they could be doing more. I did reach out to the Hermiston police in the hopes that one of the detectives would talk to me or even just send an email statement on the current status. They did reply to the email and they said they can't discuss the case since it's open, but they wanted to be clear they are actively working on it and they claim to keep the family up to date. And as you can tell from the conversation with Gabby, that's not exactly how the family feels. And I am utterly shocked that there was possible evidence left in the house and not taken to be tested. Alicia, I know you haven't listened to the full interview yet, but what are your initial thoughts?
It's definitely concerning how the husband handled it. I like to reserve assumptions or accusations until there's more concrete evidence. But that's very concerning, all of that. The fact that, she got up and left in the middle of the night. Well, if you're that close with your kids, how is there not a plan in place? Or by this point, now that we're at 2 years, that there hasn't been at least one communication or an accidental butt dial even? I mean,
or some
anything.
Sort of message sent. Gabby mentioned her mom and stepdad, or she doesn't like to consider him a stepdad. Her mom and her husband, they were having problems. It sounds like Graciela was talking to another man. And right there, that's a scenario where a husband would have something to do with something going wrong.
Yeah.
That's a common type of murder, is one out of a fit of rage or jealousy. Like that could happen to anybody. So that was a red flag for me. But the fact that she described him as scary and dangerous and that they said he looked as if he was lying, I don't discount people's gut judgments.
Oh, yeah, no, especially when they know the situation.
Right.
For
and
sure.
While I would never say you're a murderer without concrete evidence, there is something there that needs to be explored. And I'm not saying the police aren't doing it. They're just not talking about it. He hasn't been arrested. And I asked Gabby, does it feel like they're waiting for him to slip up so they can arrest him for something they do have evidence on? But she described there were things left in the house that she thinks should be tested. But they don't have the money to go do this themselves.
Right.
And that's unfortunate. while we're all going to be the biggest advocates for finding someone in our family, we shouldn't have to be doing that.
Right.
There are government agencies that should be doing that. And that's why we pay taxes. So it's very hard to sit and listen to that. So we can only do what we can using our platform to make sure people hear about these things.
Yeah, it's really a heartbreaking story, and you just can't imagine for that family, especially that close. You and I are close with our families, and to be in touch with someone daily, if not, every other day or something, and to just have them drop off the face of the earth would be crushing, just.
Yeah.
And the frustration, I cannot fathom that being your everyday life and just wanting to wake up from it, thinking it's a nightmare
And
or something.
she mentioned that. It's just like unbelievable that when she sits and thinks about it. And the fact that the entire town is like, everyone knows he did it.
Right.
It's just so hard.
Yeah. And something I had stumbled across the other day doing different research, which came to mind when you were saying that, is I had always believed this, but for almost every type of missing person, you don't have to wait 24 hours.
No, there's
I think
no
that's
such thing.
always been the assumption that, like, if it's not a kid, you have to wait 24 hours. And that actually happened a few weeks ago. My uncle had a medical emergency and was lost. And we were like, he was missing. We had no idea if he was driving and got in an accident, if his medical condition caused him to get lost, if someone found him on the side of the road and took him. We had no idea. And my mom talked to my aunt, and it had been like 6 hours since he had left. And she was like, well, I have to wait. I don't know what to do until then. And my mom had to be like, you don't have to wait. Call the police. So
Yep.
I think that's an important thing for people to remember, is that, like, if someone is not where they're supposed to be and it's out of character and it's wrong and that something's up, like, you can call and you can file that right away and get that going fast. Especially, if his alibi is that she up and left.
And that could be the case. You know what I mean? Like, but at the same time,
I know you can always say no one ever knows anybody fully, but to go from, like, doting mother to
yes,
completely gone.
And the most alarming thing is Gabby said pretty early on, the police treated it as a homicide. So clearly they know more.
Knew.
And, I realize they can't tell us everything. Guys,
Right.
that's how it works. I know there are people online going, oh, I found
No
this
one
connection.
talked about-
Do you
yeah.
think the FBI isn't going to find that connection, y'all?
Yeah.
You know what?
And there are things they don't say because it can totally either damage the case in court or it can affect the ability to catch the person.
Right. And, there is also a lot of chatter with this Gabby Petito case about Dog the Bounty Hunter now being involved. And
He is?
He
Or
is, but
was?
let me say for a minute, in Florida, it's one of few states that you have to actually have a license to be a bounty hunter. He has one. He has found over 8,000 people. There's a reason he got his own show.
Right.
Yes, he's a silly celebrity guy, but
Right.
he is incredibly good at his job.
Right.
So I wouldn't discount why he's involved. But one of the things I learned recently digging into that is bounty hunters don't have to follow the laws that police officers do. They
Right.
don't have to announce themselves when they go into a person's house. They don't have to read
They don't have to
Miranda
have warrants.
rights.
They don't have to
They're not going to
have
wreck a case
injunctures.
like
Yeah.
a police officer might. So I think that's really interesting. And it's actually, I'm glad he's involved.
Right.
I know he's silly looking and
But you can cut through some red tape and get some answers a
Yeah,
little
exactly.
faster, as long as it's done in a way that, like I said, doesn't end up
right.
messing anything up long term.
But why I bring that up is in this case, the family wants to hire a PI and they want to hire a lawyer. And I told Gabby in the interview, I'm hopeful we can help you make some of those goals
Yeah.
because I think the most important thing is getting a lawyer to put some pressure on the police
Yeah.
department. The FBI has been contacted. Has anything happened? No.
Right.
So one of the concerning, and I'm going to call it out right now, it is a rumor. I saw it online a few weeks ago. Somebody said this husband has connections to the police. And this is Eastern Oregon, guys. Like,
It's very possible.
I'm not going to say that that's true, but that's concerning that people are saying that.
Right. Yeah, that's even being discussed. It's like, where did that come from?
And how come there are only like 4 news articles you can find on this? Like,
Right.
it's so sad that she had to go to a content creator on TikTok to even get this case talked about.
Yeah.
I'm glad I could be that person that she reached out to, but it's very sad. And they don't have a ton of followers on their social media accounts designed to help get this out.
Oh,
So I'm
okay.
hoping we can assist with that.
Yeah. Do they have a GoFundMe or something
Yep.
for the lawyer and PI? Oh, wonderful.
One of the things we can do to show our support of finding out what happened to Graciela is to share on social media. In the interview with Gabby, you heard her mention how amazing it is to see cases go viral. I've recorded a TikTok video about Graciela, and it's currently sitting at a little over 20,000 views. That video is shareable, and it's pinned to the top of my account at EM_Murder in the Rain. We also have an Instagram. We will post about Graciela, and we will tag their Instagram account so that you can share that as well. Please help us spread the word. Now, if everyone listening was willing to donate $1, Graciela's GoFundMe would be complete. GoFundMe does require a minimum of $10, so if you can donate 10 or more, that would be amazing. The GoFundMe link is in the show notes. If you can donate $1, you can actually send that to us via PayPal or Venmo. Our PayPal can be found on our website, or you can go to PayPal and send it to murderintherain@gmail.com. Our Venmo is at murderintherain. We'll be sending a donation on October 15th. So you have 2 weeks that you can send us funds, and we'll go ahead and add it to ours, and we'll make that donation. I really want to help this family make progress on her case. I think the best way to do that is by getting them a lawyer and a PI. It's totally unacceptable that we don't know more about where Gracie is. I think everyone can agree there is a person of interest in this case.
Yeah.
If you want to stay up to date on the case, we have all of the Find Gracie social media accounts in our show notes, and we also have them on our blog as well as our donation QR codes. Thank you so much for listening, hopefully donating, and hopefully sharing. Let's help find Gracie.
Sounds pretty darn good in here, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like if we were in a garage with the door open, it would sound even better.
And we all had diarrhea or whatever that woman has.
That's
in that?
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I got that covered.
The number
I mean,
threes.
Me too.
Kim S. from Atlanta, Georgia.
Georgia? Where's that?
Aw. Cough jinx. Twins. Oh, a funky dunk.
Funky dunk.
Mm-hmm. Oh, like that.
Like that.
A funky dunk. He actually saves them, and then he types out a transcript to everything we've ever said, and then hangs them on the wall.
Oh my God.
I mailed them to the government.
She also said I'm not allowed at her birthday party because she's afraid her friends will want to sit with me because of my TikTok and not her.
Oh my God.
That's like me with my mom and her horses. I had certain friends that just loved talking horse with my mom, and I hated it. So I stopped inviting them over.
I had that problem too. Oh, I don't know the order of voices or
Alto's
what I
the
am.
lowest of a
I don't know what
female
I
voice.
sing.
There's soprano, one
Hey.
soprano, mezzo soprano, alto 1, alto 2, and then the tenor, baritone, bass.
Pavarotti.
This
Oh
is
my God.
voice now.
Was Pavarotti in the room just now?
See.
Claiming to have awoken the morning of November. Oh my God, I can't. My mouth isn't working. November 9th. November 9th. What is happening?
It's that pumpkin foam.
What if you witnessed me having a stroke and it just stopped? Bell's palsy.
I would go smile.
I'd,
It was
I'd
crooked.
witness you having a stroke.
Ayo.
You know what I'm
Murder in the Rain is produced and edited by Josh McCullough. Written and hosted by Emily Rowney and Alicia Holland. Artwork by Jamie Costa. Music by Kai Pfeiffer at kyfifer.com. Check out our website, murderintherain.com, for additional information on all cases, a fun interactive map, and be sure to subscribe so you can receive our newsletter. Check out the Mad Props page for coupon codes from some of our sponsors. We love your reviews and seeing them on all streaming platforms, especially iTunes. And check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And suck my balls.
Please put that in.